Natrone Brooks is going to force these coaches to have some uncomfortable conversations. He's quietly put together one of the most impressive preseasons on the Falcons roster this season. From locking down receivers in camp to making that statement with the interception against the Tennessee Titans. He's showing the instincts and the physicality that this secondary thrives on. And in this video, we're breaking down his preseason snaps and what really stands out on film and how, his rise could shake up this cornerback depth chart heading into the regular season. But before we get into this, if you guys do enjoy this content, be sure to like and subscribe for more because I will be coming out with more in the future. But let's go and get into the film. All right, so this first cut we're going to look at came against the Lions. It was early in the first quarter. So what the Lions are doing, they're doing dagger, but it's a two-man route concept. So what we're getting here, we're just getting a clear route by the number 2 receiver, okay? And then we're going to get this deep in cut by Isaac Tesla. And you're hitting this off a 7-step drop, which means you're going to fake the run, set up to throw, and you're trying to hit this, right? That's all you're trying to hit because you're going to have 8 guys in protection. He's going to chip the defensive tackle and work out to the flat if everything or if both routes are covered because we're really trying to hit this. We're trying to get these guys to bite. It's a hard play action, okay? And so no matter the coverage, whether they were running man or quarter half, essentially what we're getting here, we're getting man on the outside with Natrone Brooks and Isaac Tesla, and then we're going to get a bracket by DeMarco Hellams and Xavier Watts on this clear out route. That's exactly what we're getting. Because keep in mind, these two are not out on the route, and he gets into his route late, and it essentially ends up being him taking it through. So now that we know that we have man on the outside, they're trying to take advantage of that, okay? And so we get into his rep and we watch this play through. I'm going to tell you why I like this rep because normally you play this, with inside leverage as like a quarter half. Maybe it was man coverage, so I'm assuming that's why he's playing so far inside. But I also saw like last year when we were playing our quarter half, we played it like this where Mike Hughes would literally just do like this on a vertical pressing route. And if it broke underneath, he really wouldn't bite on it, okay? But let's look at his rep right here. So one thing I will say about Isaac Tesla, he kind of messes up footwork-wise because he was doing his rule of threes like Cooper Kupp thing. So it was like 1, 2, 3, and he was trying to break, but the break was kind of sloppy because he ended up slipping. And so what Natrone Brooks did here for his technique-wise, the commentators did say that it was like a lot of contact on this route, which I agree, but I also will say that it's not PI because if you look at what he's doing, this left arm, it grabs his shoulder. It doesn't tug his shoulder. He just grabs his shoulder, and then his right arm is going to come around and grab his hip, okay? And then once he's getting, once Isaac Tesla's like out of his break going across the field, he's going to transition and put this arm on that hip, and he's going to use it to catapult himself and make a play on this ball, if that makes sense. So I'm going to just show y'all right now. So look. So he's going to transition to where he puts his hand on his hips, right? He's going to switch hands, and then he's going to use that hand to pull himself around, not pull the receiver, but pull himself around, and then make a play on this ball, and it's an incomplete pass. So a lot of people will say this is PI or this is holding, but no, this is good physicality and knowing how to use, the receiver's body to get yourself in position to make a play, okay? Great play by Natrone Brooks. All right, so later on in the game, we're essentially getting the same thing where he's locked on man-to-man right here. We're actually playing man coverage this time. I'm really not. I think it was quarter half in the last one, but what we're getting from the offense is we're getting drive. So you're going to get a deep in cut right here by the point man of the bunch. You're going to get a drag route by the number 1 receiver. He's going to release out into the flat to, influence this linebacker or this nickel actually to, make this read clear for the quarterback, right? You're going to get a mandatory outside release, or I would call it a red line fade in this situation based on the rep against Natron. And you're going to get a check burst by the running back, okay? So you're really trying to horizontally stress this defense if you're getting zone, and then if you're getting man, you're going to probably hit one of your 2 crossing route options, or what Kyle Allen did in this situation. He took his one-on-one ball, right? So good rep by Kyle Allen for noticing. So if we watch this play out real quick, good job for noticing the safety rotations because guess what? These, once again, we're in man coverage, but it's just what kind of man coverage? Is it 2-man where we're getting cover 5, or is it just, cover 1? And you see he's looking at this safety rotate down, and guess where his eyes go? His eyes go to this go ball right here. And so we get to this rep by Natrone Brooks, right? When we talk about running these go routes for a receiver, it's not just run straight down the field. So let me do this real quick. We always talk about on this channel the red line, and that's about 5 yards away from the sideline. So if we look at the sideline right here, because we can see the sideline right there, this is about 5 yards. No, let me do it again. This right here is about 5 yards from the boundary to the to the actual red line, which will be on the practice field, okay? That's about 5 yards. So you want, as a receiver, we're going to do imaginary line once again, where it's right here, right? Say this is the red line. You want to hold this red line as long as possible, okay, and give your quarterback an opportunity to hit this ball in this space that the red line isn't. Because guess what? If you run this ball or run this go route outside of the red line, this ball's going to go out of bounds, and we don't want that to happen. So if you ever see a go ball thrown out of bounds, that's exactly what happens. So once again, if we just look at this rep, Natron does a good job of staying over top of it from inside leverage and forcing that outside release. He doesn't bite on this little stutter move, and he stays over top. And guess what? Now he's not holding the red line. He's giving up the red line by pressing further outside. And now guess what? This ball is sailing on him, staying over top of it, and guess what? He hits out of bounds. Because guess what? He didn't hold the red line, and Natron force him to give up that red line, right? Because it's not always about getting pass breakups or interceptions. It's just making the throw completely unmakeable or making the catch extremely hard. And he made the throw unmakeable, and this is a good rep by him. All right, so this play has a little bit more nuance into it because I just learned this the other day, and I kind of like the way that, you know, our defense is set up in this situation now. So what we're getting here, we're getting a cell concept. So if you don't know what cell is, it's pretty much flood, but it's a little bit of nuance to it. So normally you would think flood if you play Madden or if you really know football. Flood is a mandatory outside release, a deep out cut, and then you're gonna get some kind of flat control by the running back or the tight end on the same side, right? Well, flood is a little bit different, where we're going to be having a skinny post by the number one to really pull this corner and this safety out of the picture, right? We're trying to pull this guy out. You're going to have a sail route by the number two receiver. It's still pretty much the same type of route. And then you're still going to get your high-low stretch on whoever's right here, right? But you're really just trying to pull this corner and the safety out, right? That's the minor difference between sail and flood. And so defensively, what we're getting quarter half. So this is probably gonna be our favorite coverage this year because we run it a ton, where we're getting a quarter by Natrone Brooks, a quarter by this safety. I think that's I don't know if that's Xavier. I don't think it's Xavier, but they were what changes is we're gonna have the half be played by Mike Ford, and then Jordan Fuller's gonna come out and play and buzz down, right? And usually you would get the half played by Jordan Fuller, and he would be in the flat, okay? But since, you know, we have a double tight end right here, we're going to probably modify it. And that's what I'm assuming is going on, okay? What does this mean for Natrone Brooks? That means, guess what? He has to carry this number one all the way through. However, if something, you know, comes out, he has to be able to fall off of this and make a play. And that's exactly what he does, okay? Because guess what? By a certain point in the route, he won't be able to affect this because guess what? One, it's also a run fake because he's further out of the play, but two, he has, you know, a responsibility to get the running back to the flat, which is what's going to happen, okay? So when we watch this play out, perfect coverage rep from Natrone Brooks right here. So look, once again, we're starting to see this take form where he's keeping eyes on the quarterback while staying over top of his man. We like that. And guess what? We already know that this guy has to take 3 through, and so he goes to take 3 through. But if we go back to Natron real quick, we're going to see that he's keeping eyes on both guys. He's reading 1 to 2. And what does he do? He sees 2 break out, and he's triggering down on 2 fast. And he's able to make this throw really hard. Well, able to make the catch really hard. I would call this a pass breakup because, you know, it could have been a completion. However, the ball was a little bit high, but, you know, he was going to make a play on this ball regardless if it was a good throw or not. So, very good play by Natrone Brooks because not a lot of corners doing this. They're probably going to take this post route all the way through, and this cell route is going to be way open. And I'm glad he fell off of it because that's good instincts right there to know what was coming. All right, now this one I've gone over before, but I did mess up when I was going over this breakdown. So I said this was cover 3, but it's actually not. So upon further looking at it and also consulting with fellow ball knowers, this is actually cover 6, right? But this is the Natrone Brooks interception, right? However, when I said, you know, this was cover 3, he had his outside third, the responsibilities really didn't change, but we're just going to take you through the coverages, okay? So once again, we're just going to go through like the actual play first, you know, what the offense is doing, what the defense is doing, all of that. So we know we're getting a deep stop by number 1, okay? And then we're going to get a crossing route by number 2. These are the main components of this concept right here because guess what? Everything is dependent off of if we're getting, you know, cover 3 or cover 1. If we're getting cover 3, we know we can hit this right here. And if not, we're probably going to have something in the flat to come and, you know, go to, right? However, if we get cover one, we know this route is probably alerted, because guess what? We want a runaway route against cover one because you're running away from your defender, right? And when I went over this in my other video, I was saying how in cover three, essentially by a certain point in time, you're in man covers going against a deep curl. But it's the same thing when you're playing quarter half. And I'm just gonna speed up a little bit to show you what I'm talking about. So when we get into this, all right, and the reason why I see it's quarter half now is because there is a triangle on the weak side. So you have 1, 2, and then 3. But since nobody's on the right, you really can't tell. You would assume it's cover 3 because, you know, he's bailing, he dropped down to play the buzz, and then he's also in the flat, right? But since this guy is, you know, he's on the ground, imagine he was right here in his proper depth. Then that's a box over how many receivers? 1, 2, and it's gonna be a 3, right? Or I said 2. It's gonna be 3 right here, okay? So it will be box over 3, triangle over 2, and the 2 would be the tight end right here and the tight end right there. So this is actually indeed cover 6. So once again, we already know that he has all of number 1, and if 2 goes out, he has to, you know, fall off of 1 and get to 2. But since 2 is going away from him, he knows he can just stick on number 1 all the way. And guess what? That's exactly what he does, because guess what? Once again, he saw this in practice too, but he was waiting on it, anticipating, and once he saw it, he triggered on it and he jumped in front of this pass and he took it back. I don't know how we didn't score once again. Well, we got 3 points, but I don't know how we didn't get 6 points out of this, because we really should have. We started this drive inside the 30. Like, come on, man. Offense had to be better right there. But that was the last clip. I just don't see how you can keep him off this roster. He has value on special teams. He can also play inside, because when we played Denver, he played inside and he was really one of the only bright spots in that game. And now you see he's showing an ability to play outside. So it's safe to say that he's really earned his roster spot. But remember, if y'all guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like, subscribe for more, because I will be uploading more in the future. And I can't wait to get into this last game, man. So I'll see you guys after that. Goodbye.